Interesting you mentioned the word tasty there. I'm sure you're at the forefront of the big push at the moment for people to eat more wild meat. So, encouraging the population to eat pheasant and venison are two examples. But what about the uphill battle that pheasant just doesn't taste as good as chicken and venison doesn't taste as good as beef?
Um, it's back to the same old thing. I've never been a big lover of pheasant, to be honest. It goes dry and a bit like gamey and stuff. So we have a chef on the pheasant shoot, and he actually makes a fantastic uh, pheasant breast Kiev, breadcrumbs, garlic, and that is absolutely fantastic. And then he does different like Asian type, so like spices with, and others like Levinses, and again, that's absolutely fantastic. Venison is back to the same old scenario. It's where it's come from, what it is, and how it's harvested. If you get a stag in the full rut, you know, and it can be very strong. You want to pick how you
Stinks.
cook it. Yeah. Whereas you get a prime fallow um, fallow early season, or a Chinese water deer, then it is like perfect eating. So sauce, that's all it is.
Masks the meat flavor.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, if you actually can find out where, what, and how where it come from, that helps a lot. Food miles is massive, I think, with game. The closer you can get it from where you live, the better, because it just hasn't had that time to become gamey. So unless you like the game taste, obviously. But yeah, that's the problem with lots of people that eat game or try to eat game. They have some old bit of venison or old bit of pheasant that's been hung for too long, and it becomes too strong and too gamey, which I don't particularly like either. So
You mentioned, you have a chef who works on the shoot.
yeah.
Could you sort of give a bit of context as to the operation in which you're running? How many acres are you on? And obviously, you offer all different sorts of sporting options. But obviously, as far as I'm aware, you're not, an aristocratic landowner. So how are you able to have a sporting side of things?
So basically, I rent the sporting rights from an estate, and the estate basically uh, leases this on a. It can be depending on what estate you're on. It could be yearly, 3 yearly, 5 yearly, and you take the sporting rights. That gives you, depending on what the agreement is, could be deer and game birds, ducks. It's like the management and to run it's like a shoot on there, and it could be anything from a small syndicate shoot of 10 people getting together and doing it as a DIY, or it could be slightly more commercial where you put down a few more birds, have a gamekeeper, have a place employ a gamekeeper, have helpers, and so do more slightly bigger days. So um, we do in the middle. We cover the whole range. We do everything from a walked up day to a slightly bigger day, just because it balances the books. But we tend to it's really nice to see the different ends of the shooting fraternity, because it's just you meet so many different people from different walks of life, and yeah, it's rewarding and it's great for contacts.
So how big of a, in terms of acreage, how big of an operation are you working on?
I downscaled it a little bit actually. I was doing one stage. I was doing two quite large shoots, and this year I've changed a few things, and I've just got one shoot now. We're doing slightly less days, which is great for me because I got a bit of my life back, because it tends to overtake your whole life basically. When you're on a shoot day, it's preparation, the day, and then obviously afterwards. So we're down to one estate. We do about 25 days, a mix of pheasants and some duck, a few partridges, and yeah, it's got a syndicate. We have a few other teams that I've known for years that come from all in one foreign team come from Germany, but they come and they do a day's game shooting, and then they go stalking as well. So it's quite a good mix.
You mentioned it's all consuming. I was just thinking, surely pursuing kickboxing to the extent that you have and then having the job that you have, it must be quite hard, sort of socially or personally, to maintain any sort of relationship.
Well, do you know what? I would always say give a busy man a job and it'll be done. And it is. I mean, it's amazing. All it is just basically planning. And you'll be amazed. I go to loads of events. I do my media stuff. Media stuff, I go abroad a lot for the media stuff. We away for 2 to 7 days. Um, but again, preparation, planning, having good people around you to help you, and yeah, that's probably the key to it. But I do go out and I do, you know, socialise as well.
I was speaking to a gamekeeper. I was having dinner with him about a few months ago, and he is late 40s. He's done it since he was 17. And we were talking about the physical toll of the job. And he's done everything. He's been gamekeeping birds, but then he did a lot of time as a ghillie. And he says his knees are just screwed from just dragging stags off a hill for years on end. And then I was thinking, I wonder what Paul does because knees are quite important in kickboxing and also his his job in field sports. So, I mean, is there like an intense physio regime that you're going through, or is it just blinkers on and keep going?
Um, Again, I've been so lucky in my kickboxing career, the martial arts side of things. I've not had major injuries. Touch wood. It's an odd split lip, black eye, uh, a broken finger or something, but no major, broken bones. An odd something, but nothing major. Uh, and I know a lot of physios, and I've done every type of physio you could think of. I've done, you know, chiropractors, physio, bands, you name it, I've done it. And I still go back to the same Thai lady, which actually does a traditional Thai boxing martial art, which is quite rough, not very nice to be fair, but it actually works really well. Even if I got like a ripped neck or something, yeah. So that's been brilliant. But as for the like work side of things, it is a dangerous job. You know, you know, you're around firearms and shotguns. That's not actually the problem. It's actually quad bikes, trailers, trees, ditches, slippy banks. And it sounds silly, slippy bank, that's no big deal. But when you're carrying a 25k bag of pellets or food or corn or whatever, or water containers, yeah, it is a problem. I've had quite a few injuries through this like work more than anything. But I think with the training has actually helped me. So my physical, I'm getting older now, but I'm still physically strong. I do the kickboxing, I do this like gym work, and it keeps you like your core strength there, which actually helps the job.
It's interesting you talking about slippy banks there because the same gamekeeper who says his knees are blown up he slipped. He's had no injuries in his life, and he suddenly slipped on a bank,
Yeah,
and he did his hip, and he was out for 6 months. Just
yeah,
like couldn't do anything because he did all sorts of damage to his hip.
yeah,
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 I guess it's when you switch off and you're
yeah.
just walking somewhere, or your mind's in somewhere else where you put the trailer onto the quad and then you've trapped your finger and then you broke your finger, sort of thing.
Exactly. And when you're pressured, rushed, tired, that's when classic accidents happen. And yeah, I mean it's a grueling job on the body. If you're still doing it manually. My father, he got through 2 sets of hips just through the later part of his life by just carried on working hard and then just like basically grinding down. So if he would have not done the job, he would have probably lasted that hip probably for the rest of his time. So it just goes to show what's like demanding it is on the body.
Your father was also a gamekeeper, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah,
How over the decades has the role changed, do you think?
massively, absolutely massively. I hear stories of old, and he started off as a carpenter gamekeeper on an estate in Wiltshire, and they were doing broody hens, small clutches, but still releasing good numbers on the estate. Very traditional estate. He moved to Ireland where it was like a semi-commercial estate, putting down a bit bigger numbers, and you know it was regarded the gamekeeper was just a staff member on an estate. You get a house with a job, and yeah, I think he was I can't remember exactly 2 and 6 months or whatever that is. I don't know what it is. It was some small amount. And it tells a story of like they couldn't afford a turkey for Christmas dinner, so he caught a cock pheasant in a fen trap and plucked that off and had that for Christmas dinner. So times were quite hard back in the day of a gamekeeper, but as times evolved, it's more commercial, and in general, the standard of living and support for countryside workers has gone right up, and most gamekeepers now are on a good solid wage, good package, and if you love the job, it's an amazing job.